Good morning, class. Today I'm going to be dictating your tests only, so make sure that you access the speed building, and so you have words that come out. Just a minute, you all. Now you have Lit 100, Bait Card, Detective O'Brien, MF, and then look at your proper names, IN, and then apostrophe, okay? So this is going to be test number 100, for 5 minutes, you all. And it starts in the middle, okay? I know that the chart I put up is a little difficult to read. I am going to go through that with you, so don't worry if you can't read everything that's on there. At this point, before we even get started, I just really want to thank you for your time, your attention, and your patience in this matter. Especially there was some waiting this morning, and we apologize for that. The whole purpose for being here today obviously is about justice, and you heard the evidence. You heard the explanations or the instructions from the courts. And at this point, I'm just going to take an opportunity to go through that roadmap with you one more time, kind of just to make sure that we're not getting lost on our final journey of getting to that verdict of guilty. The judge, when he was talking about the jury instructions, he said something that was really important. He said lots of things that are very important, but one thing I really want to bring to your attention is that you are the sole jurors or sole judges of the evidence that's presented here today, or over the course of the last 2 days. It's up to you to judge the credibility of the witnesses and of the evidence that was presented. And again, it's that roadmap. It's the direction. You're the ones that are going to need to follow the directions to get to the final destination. At this point, I kind of want to stop and play again for you the videotape that was taken in the bait car, because I think that kind of sets the tone for this whole case. As you recall, the female driving is Detective O'Brien. Pay attention to the time frame from Detective O'Brien leaving the car to when the defendant enters the car. And that's it. You heard the charges read by the court regarding unlawful taking of a vehicle. The elements: taking somebody else's car, the car being driven by Detective O'Brien without their permission. You heard the testimony. There was no consent or permission to take it. You saw on the video that the defendant is driving the vehicle, and you heard his statements. I'm stealing this MFN car, the elements of the crime. I probably could stop with my argument at this point and just let you take the videotape, but out of an abundance of caution, I am going to go over every other detail that was also presented to try to, again, give you that roadmap and go through the totality of the circumstances regarding not only the elements of the taking of the vehicle, but also the benefit to the gang. So I am going to break it down. You take a look at the chart that I prepared. I know it's kind of hard to read, but basically it's the totality of the circumstances, the evidence, and then it continues, you all. It's the same type of, all from the same transcript, okay? On your second 100 jury charge, you have Milton, Detective Wolf, Honda Accord, Detective O'Brien, and T-shirt. And so this will be your test number 2, 100 lit, for 5 minutes, you all. Starts in the middle. She goes up and she parks the vehicle indicated on this diagram. She parks the vehicle up here towards this end parking stall between another building. And there was a garbage can right there behind 7332 Milton. She testified that she parked the vehicle there and she left the keys in the ignition, which you can see in the videotape. She testified that when she parked the vehicle there, that she wasn't blocking any other vehicles and that she got into the vehicle with the other officer, undercover officer that was following her. But prior to doing that, she testified that she saw the defendant and another male sitting on the stairs. Again, she gave no one else permission to take that vehicle. She had the authority to drive that vehicle, as we saw in the videotape. Other testimony that was presented, Detective Wolf. Now, Detective Wolf, he was in a position just to watch the vehicle. It was his job that day to be parked down the alley to watch, surveil, see what was going on with that vehicle, see if anybody got into that vehicle. And as Detective Wolf testified, he observed only the 1998 Honda Accord to come into the alley, that no other cars after Detective O'Brien came in, no other vehicles came into the alley. He testified that he saw the defendant, that he saw him on 3 different occasions before actually entering the vehicle. He testified that as he was sitting in his vehicle, just a few minutes of the vehicle sitting there after Detective O'Brien had left it, he sees the defendant come out into the alley, come out into this alley right here, to look out and to look up and down the alleyway. Okay, first time, kind of up and down the alleyway. Second time, he sees the defendant come out into the alley again. This time, he sees him come out into the alley, look up and down the alleyway, and circle around the vehicle, kind of looking in the windows, checking it out. And then the third time, he sees the defendant come out with this t-shirt in his hand, and he sees the defendant go straight to the vehicle, open the door, and get inside. The videotape captures what happens inside the vehicle, his driving the vehicle. The videotape also captures how he uses the t-shirt while he's inside on the steering wheel, on the sifter, how he's looking around. The video also captures that heavy breathing, that heavy, excited breathing, and of course the statements that he makes that I'm stealing this car, and that he's going to take the radio. Now, Detective Wolf also testified that while he was at that location, or when he came upon the location after he lost sight of the vehicle, that he saw the defendant with a t-shirt in his hand and the keys. And you can see in the okay, and we'll get ready for your 80s, you all. Same material, okay? 80s. So you have on your 80 number 1 test, you have Detective or T-shirt, Detective Wolf. You have Officer Wolf, Detective O'Brien, Honda Accord, Peoples 14, Los Angeles, County Sheriff's Department, and TRAP, T-R-A-P. And this is going to be 80 lit number 1 for 5 minutes, you all. Starts in the middle. Let's break it down and go step by step. Start there. In addition to this video, everything that you've seen, there was other evidence presented. There was other observations made regarding the defendant in the taking of that vehicle. In addition to the videotape, which we just saw here, was also the t-shirt. The t-shirt that was seen by Detective Wolf in the defendant's hand. You saw it in the video, and as Detective Wolf demonstrated for you, that the defendant had the t-shirt over his hand to open up the car door. Okay? So the t-shirt was recovered and booked into evidence. There is a second video that was also played for you regarding the area itself. And in a minute, I'll get to that. But there was a videotape that was actually taken that day that shows the accuracy of what was going on in the alley regarding what it looked like and where vehicles were parked or not parked in terms of other vehicles and the bait car. And then there's also the photographs and the diagrams, photographs that were taken after this offense occurred, but that accurately depict the area, how it looks, how the parking structure looks, and the diagram prepared by Officer Wolf and corrected in terms of where the vehicle was by Detective O'Brien. Now, Detective O'Brien came in and testified that she was the driver of the car. You see her in the videotape. She came in, she said that she was the undercover officer that day and that it was her job to come in as an officer in this capacity and create a scene. She was role playing, and you hear what she says on the videotape, talking about her boyfriend, and he is with another woman or something. It was her testimony that is what she was supposed to do. She was driving the 1998 Honda Accord, the 1998 Honda Accord that was stipulated in People's 14 that belongs to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, to the TRAP team, to the task force that Detective O'Brien was working for. She testified that she had authority to drive that vehicle and that the only other people that had authority to drive that vehicle were members of the team or law enforcement officers. She testified that when she came, and then we have your 80 number 2. So you have Detective O'Brien, Bugsy, Officer Lebson, Efren Barajas, Jumpin, Whittier Barrio Loco, Detective Lebson, and Little Man. This is going to be test number 2, 80 words a minute for 5 minutes. Prior to getting into the vehicle during that 4-minute span from the time that Detective O'Brien leaves the car to the point that the defendant gets into the vehicle, as evidenced by the videotape, there was a cassette tape that was enhanced, and you can hear the defendant to say, "Call Bugsy." And that cassette tape, let's just play it one more time here. You'll get an opportunity to play this again while you're deliberating, should you choose to, but let me play it one more time here for you. I know that when the dog is barking, it's a little difficult to hear. Okay? Call Bugsy. Now, Officer Lebson testified that Bugsy is Efren Barajas, a 16-year-old jump-in for Whittier Barrio Loco, self-admitted gang member, admitted to Detective Lebson that he is a gang member, and also that Bugsy there's only one Bugsy in Whittier Barrio Loco. He's it. And also that Bugsy on May 1st. Now, this incident happened on May 16th. On May 1st, had been stopped in the field and had little man written on his hand and a phone number. And Bugsy admitted to Detective Levson that that was little man, this defendant that's in court today. Bugsy also lives right across the street, as you'll recall from the location of where this occurred. But the cassette tape pretty much says it all. It shows the intent of the defendant prior to getting into that car, that he was doing this for the benefit of his gang. He intended to get Bugsy to come help him. As the evidence was presented to you regarding the opinion of how gangs work, Officer Levson was able to testify to you that it's common for the shot caller, which he testified that the defendant is, for the shot caller to bring in the new jump-ins or the juveniles to do the dirty work, to do the physical work, to earn their reputation within the gang. So Officer Levson testified based on his training and experience that it is his opinion based on the evidence presented, and he listened to the hypothetical, and he was giving the details of this case, that this crime was committed for the benefit of the gang. And he based that on the statement of the defendant saying, call Bugsy. He based that on his knowledge, personal. Okay, you all. So your tests were good. Hopefully you all like them. Type one up. See how you're doing. Get it graded if you felt really good, or just turn it in as a daily and it won't be graded, okay? Have a great day. Make sure you access the speed building before this, okay?